Welcome in everybody. Davil says Overwatch 3 is it going to be 4v4s? Hopefully not. Well, hopefully we are able to reverse this terrible trend of removing features from the game that we love, which is absolutely crazy, but at least that's why we have Toasty Kaplan to help us out. So, like I said, guys, today I'm going to be using a controller to try and make this footage look a little bit nicer for everybody on stream. Yeah, we're going to be doing a basic VOD review of it, but if I do mess the stuff up, like, just give me a little bit of time. We'll see, because look, now I can do some crazy fun camera movement. And oops, which button was it? Let's we can start, we can stop it. How do I free the camera? There, that's how I free the camera. And we can slow the game down. Davil says, okay, hear me out. 5v5, we tune the numbers. Delete one healer and bring back 2 tanks. I am totally up for that. Let's absolutely remove a support. And it's absolutely killing people too, because everyone's saying, well, we'll call them healers. Because they are healers. As a healer main, I understand the need for them to be supports, but I do want to note before we jump into anything, okay, it is the community that really defined the difference between DPS, supports, and tanks, right? And then Blizzard, in looking at how people played the game, split them off into categories. But now, which is really ridiculous, they're taking categories like the support that were derived from how people play, and they're changing how people play inside that category, which doesn't make any sense. Because what's going to happen is suddenly those characters are now going to overlap, and the community is going to start to play the heroes like you play a support as you play a DPS. Well, maybe in 6v6 and kind of the original Overwatch, that character would have been more DPS than a support in the first place. So we're reading it the wrong way. Like, roles are supposed to be looked at in terms of how people play, and then the character gets put into that category. But instead, Blizzard, and actually a lot of the pros, which I'll say is one of the big misconceptions of a lot of high elo players, they're like, well, how should supports be? How should tanks be? How should DPS be? No, that's the wrong way of thinking about it. You want to look at how a character is played, how the players develop their own synergies around it, and then define its role from there. The idea that, oh, we're releasing a tank or a healer or whatever, is totally ass backwards in my mind. So, anyways, let's take a look and see at how these games are played. How do I get the UI up? There we go. There we go. It disabled. Okay. And welcome in Fardastray. Can I say Fard? I don't know. It sounds like fart. Sorry, but Fardastray. Oh, it's Dostray. It's Dostray. I'm an idiot. I was like, why is the name totally different? No, it's Dostray. How you doing, man? I'm sorry about that. Welcome in. Welcome in. Yeah. So I only have 10 games back, unfortunately, too, to look at. Yeah. Sorry. Fard. It's a bad pro streamer, guys. We're doing this. Yeah. I want to use I'm going to be learning again the controller here in terms of the camera movement, so it might take me a second to figure these things out. We've got circle, which is toggle. What is this? Back. These controls are really weird. Let's play, pause. I know that. Oh, it's an animation. Sorry, I've been spent so many years with the mouse and keyboard. This is going to take me a second just to make it look nice. Let's break down team compositions first. And I know that someone just got eliminated already, so we're a little bit far into the fight. But really, the way that you want to build your team composition is off of what your tanks are doing. Because the tanks are like the enablers and the engage for pretty much every single fight. There are some exceptions to this, obviously, but we have the attackers with the very weird Mauga Doomfist combo. That was not something that we saw inside Overwatch 1, obviously. And we have the defenders playing Winston Doomfist, which we could have seen in Overwatch 1, but, Doomfist wouldn't have really been a tank at all. So, one thing that I want to note right away, and maybe can I get the menu up? How do I get the menu up? Maybe I'm just gonna use controllers. we'll switch back and forth between it. Okay. So one thing I've noticed a lot in these 6v6s is that people aren't used to 6v6s yet, or at least like they're not used to going back to 6v6s. We do have quite a few players that were like 6v6 players back in the day, but 99% of what happened during the high elo games, and there's a reason to, I'll even ahead of time say that when I say high elo games, I mean games where people are doing the correct thing. Yes, I'm going to be that strict. I know lower elo players that are gold, that are silver, they're going to hear that and they're going to go, "Wait, does that mean I'm doing the wrong thing?" Yeah, that means you're doing 100% the wrong thing. The only thing that matters, at least in my mind, is what a higher elo player does, because a higher elo player is like somebody who has solved the puzzle of the game, right? They have figured out how to do whatever needs to get done. But if you don't know what needs to get done, you end up in a lower rank. So the quick summary there, I'm going to be very strict, and I might have to repeat it a few times too to other people, because decision making is like 99% Overwatch. So in higher elos, one of the largest goals in 6v6 was to combo both of the tanks on some form of engage. We could take something like Reinhardt Zarya. Well, as a Zarya player, you would say to the Reinhardt, "Hey, Reinhardt, I have bubble. Go in, do something, get something done," right? And if you didn't do that combo, if you didn't get the bubble on the Reinhardt, well, you just didn't win, because if the enemy team got the bubble on their Reinhardt, they won. They comboed all of their abilities into that one engage, and they pushed in and read that over and over again. But when we're watching a lot of these kind of pug 6v6s, we see a weird little thing going on where teams split up into 3v3s. Now, potentially this could be because of the way that Overwatch 2 is played right now, where people follow a single tank and try and engage with that individual tank. But I think if we had thousands and thousands of 6v6 games again, we would start to see that kind of regression to not regression, I guess, a refinement to the one individual fight. So that's a lot of prep here, but I will show you guys exactly what happens and what that looks like. Doomfist right away engages by himself. In Overwatch 1, that would be totally fine, because that is what your main tank needs to do. But in Overwatch 2, wow. Still, I got it English, guys. Blah, 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 blah. With one tank, this is totally fine. This is exactly what you should do. You jump in and you engage the first thing that seems incredibly vulnerable. But with two tanks, it might not work out so well. Mostly because, well, there are other tanks here that can now re-engage you. But also because you've left, or the Doomfist, the first tank jumping in, has completely left their second tank out in the open, not compounding value. Take a look at the result of that. There it is right there. This might be a totally okay play in 5v5. But because of the compounding value of both of the defending tanks, there's no way a play like that is going to succeed. Now, this gets really hard in a lot of these games, I've noticed, where the exact reason why one team won or lost is not totally clear due to the way people are playing. There can be players that lose because of bad positioning, right? Or positioning for a 5v5 setup. and they're not optimizing like the individual play of those heroes. So I'll hear a lot in time, and I'll say this too in 6v6s. I'll be like, I think I really need to switch. Well, it's almost too hard to tell in moments like this whether or not it is the composition that failed the type of engage, or it's the way people engaged. You guys will probably hear this. Oh, I know we're not even like one fight in. We're basically one fight into the game, and I've stopped it, and we're talking a lot about it. But we're gonna see quite a few more games where quite a few more fights where this is the case. Someone makes a play that would normally work really well in 5v5, but it doesn't succeed because it's 6v6, and so then they question, and we don't have, well, we do have some of the sorry, what am I saying? I have the comms in the recorded video, so you'll hear people go like, maybe we need to switch it up, maybe we need to fix things up, but really it's just because they didn't engage properly. There are a few players that I really want people to keep their eyes on. Number one is going to be, where is it? Am I blind? Fully blind. Bucket, right there. Now, Widowmaker, why couldn't I see that before? My brain is just not registering it. Bucket is really good at clicking on heads, and part of what makes 6v6 so strong, and part of what makes Widowmaker so strong in 5v5 is that there's like all this extra space where she can hop around and just click on heads, however she wants. But I want you guys to really note how Bucket here is going to be taking strong backline position, very aggressive backline positioning with his team. But the tanks are going to afford the defending team, the opposite team, a lot more space against the Widowmaker. It was a small mistake in 5v5 that removing one extra tank buffed the Widowmaker. We did have a few seasons where it stood out quite a bit, and if you are a better player, obviously playing around Widowmaker is not so bad, but the 5v5 fight really highlights, or the 6v6, 5v5 versus 6v6, at least highlights the different strengths that Widowmaker takes in the fight. Or different levels of strength that Widowmaker takes in different types of fights. See, this Widowmaker is just going to peek and lurk and peek, and maybe we get some kills here and there. But also these fights are really messy. And really that is because of this weird combo going on between the Mauga and Doomfist. And we could theory craft just a little bit about like what could a Mauga and Doomfist do in a push like this, where potentially the Mauga's job is to catch somebody on fire. The Doomfist should jump onto that person while they're on fire. Mauga also runs in at some point in time, hits his E so the Doomfist can kind of punch around and has a few seconds to do something. And then they both get out, or they both win the fight. Really, you actually don't really want to think about fights in terms of getting out. You want fights to be very much a one-way street. How are you going to finish that fight that time? So that's kind of the combo that we would expect here. And I'm not going to focus too much on these guys, but we will look a little bit more because this is a really interesting. This is part of what makes 6v6 so interesting is the tank combo. But really just keep it in the back of your mind and focus on it or keep an eye on it at least as we keep playing through this game. Ooh, gets it off really bad. Life Weaver.
Meteor strike.
Just keep an eye on how the Doomfist is incredibly independent here. Now, this is not the most optimal way to play with the extra tank. They are like they're doing a good job, and I would even say in many cases they're actually main tanking right now as their Doomfist, or as this Doomfist. But I don't. It just doesn't feel as optimal as it should be. At least that's what I'm seeing. Notice how he's just kind of punching people around, which obviously is part of the Doomfist job, but there's not really any finishing going on. There's not really any comboing going on. The extra tanks, and even too with, like I say, with Bucket here with the enemy Widowmaker, normally if a Doomfist is right up in your face, the Widowmaker just has complete free reign of the battlefield. But because there is a second tank, even though their tank has fully committed to this jump, there's still this little skirmish going on in the front that everybody has to deal with. And everybody in the back line, all they gotta do is just hang out and survive the Doomfist. As we see right here. This is very aggressive play. I don't know why this team with the defenders didn't jump on this at all. Wanna let's back up. Was there a threat that I didn't see there? Yeah, there was no reason. That Zenyatta should have been dead. Dead. This is where, and I'm gonna keep saying this, where one tank is playing the main tank solo tank experience, and the other tank is also playing the main tank solo tank experience. We have a Mauga fighting the front line in the long fight. We have a Doomfist in the back line doing this really scattered fight. And the front line, which is really weird, we got a Sigma Winston going on. Maybe this is where I think skill or rank comes into play within these games, because yeah, that Zen should have been dead. If the attackers win this fight, this is the fault of the defenders making a lower elo mistake. Yep.
Into the unknown. The universal sings for mine.
The defenders here are kind of running a double shields composition, which I know people really hate. But something that we have noticed in the past is that like Ramatra Junker Queen just walks right through double shields, no problem. There are a few other examples, like Wrecking Ball is actually pretty good at this too. Reinhardt, even though obviously he's, he doesn't shoot much, but he just ignores shields in general. Even though there is a small regression, I will use that word here now, regression to double shields or regression to like extreme defense, I think there are enough options right now in terms of the tank category that give, that devalue what double shields was back in the day. Bucket got me here. Yeah, this is... There is definitely much more of like a backline skirmish going on. And what I mean by a backline skirmish is that both, and it's probably not the exact phrase for it, but both backlines are throwing small bits of damage back and forth to pressure each other into corners, to pressure each other out of positions that would be strong or would be weak based on the hero composition. So I like this. I really like this style of gameplay. I don't want to be... this is like, it's very subtle, guys. I really want to point this out, but it's not something that you see that much anymore in 5v5. Because of how easy it is to pull into the back line. Like how easy it is to do a flank and just start eliminating people. Note too how both tanks on the attacker side are not in sync when they push in. That's very much a gonna be a common thread over and over and over again. I'll just pause it quickly to point out the attackers in this case have a small advantage. Now, I don't know if anybody's watching. I'll give you guys a second. I know they're ulting at the moment, but why do the attackers have a small advantage in the long run in this scenario? If you were to pause, if you were in this frame and you were attacking, what would you think? Do 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 do. I hope the enemy uses all their ults because we have some ults coming up, right? So this is going to be a dry run for the attackers. If they do hard commit, maybe they get a pick. It's still going to be really difficult because they are down their Ana. But this Sigma ult is good. It is really good. Why? Well, because they don't have to deal with the Sigma ult next fight. Of course, Tire is a little scary. If they stall it out and they manage to get tired, then everything's perfect. But if not, all they have to do is back up, group up. They've got Mauga's ult coming up. They've got Doomfist ult coming up. They've got Zenyatta ult coming up. And if it stalls out long enough, that Symmetra wall is gonna like add a lot of value to the very end of the fight. Those last little bits of scrapping that happens. So really, yeah, the attackers just kind of stall it out. They pull an ultimate. Now, the longer they let this go on for, the worse it gets. If they speed the Winston too much, he's going to have ult and they get in. But of course, Widowmaker catches them off guard. You have Doomfist ulting his way in. Right. A lot of pressure. They didn't even need to do the rest of their ults here, actually. This is... They just win that fight, which is... Interesting transcendence. Wait, what happened there?
Pass into the unknown.
He gets it. Oh, he tried to catch the Winston. I see. Just pausing this right here. Well, we still have the Junkrat ult for the defenders, which is probably going to be the biggest deciding factor in the fight. As we go up the ranks too, I'll point out that Junkrat tire is not that important. It will, like, I do find, just from watching games, and it could be wrong, I find the fall off for the tire around Masters hits really, really hard. Below that, which we have quite a few people in this lobby, it means it's going to be a big threat, and it's probably going to take out quite a few people. And it's usually enough, especially for the defenders, to properly hold the point. Now, looking at the attackers, they are going to have a tough time destroying it. They might get away with some small spam damage, or the Widow could click on the tire, and Bucket's pretty good at that. But even same way as I was saying before, in terms of ultimates, it looks like they've got Visor, they've got Nano, they've got Wall coming up. Nothing really aggressive. So potentially they might want to pull back, build the ultimates up a little bit, pull out some of the enemy ults, and use theirs to stay alive. And then that should be enough time to build up something to push in. Well, actually, they didn't really have anything aggressive, but at least a push in off of the cooldowns that the enemy team pushes on them. And then by that time, hopefully at least Doomfist has something and he can just go ham. But if they don't stall it out, and they lose the fight already, which is what's happening, they don't need to use ultimates, which means they can save, which is what's going on here for the next fight. Anytime the attackers put pressure on them there, the defenders are just going to ult. I do find this weird. I want to point this out, and I'm going to call out some people sometimes for this. Why are you holding your ults here? Now, maybe for the perfect moment, of course. Your Widowmaker's, yours truly, is going to be popping on heads anyways. But why risk it? I don't understand why we risk it. Why not just use this ultimate, get 1 or 2 kills right away, win the fight. Now your team doesn't have to use anything defensively. Maybe this is a rank difference. I don't know what rank Striker was at all, but like we waited all that time and Zenyatta destroyed the ultimate.
Can't have it getting worse.
No one can hide from my sight.
I will point out Reinhardt's always an interesting choice on defense. Now I know people are not playing like optimal compositions right here, but especially too since the attackers are playing Bastion. I don't know yet if they know that, but if okay, so one of the issues with Reinhardt on defense, which he's good in some cases if you have the right composition for it, but he can't really do anything to the enemy as they're walking towards him. He just has to stand there and swing his hammer. Now, of course, with 2 fire strikes now, they stop for stall. Pretty sure. Yeah, I know that. I like that. Well, not even. They don't even need to swap right away, right? Look, there's lots. Welcome in, by the ways, Wally. Like they got lots of time. Tons of time to set up. And really, maybe Wrecking Ball if you're going to stall, right? Like, if you're committing to a full stall, that's fine. But one of the choices there, and this is where I want to reflect on this in 2 ways. Reinhardt is very much the wall, the brick wall. You stand there, you let the enemy throw stuff at you if you don't think the enemy team is going to do anything to you. When I'm in trouble and I think that I can just stand there and take damage, I pick Reinhardt. Right, that's really what your purpose is. And of course, there are exceptions. You're supposed to go in there and swing and do all sorts. I know that. I know there's a lot to that. But Reinhardt's fundamental kit is like this big wall, and you move the front line forward or back with Reinhardt. Devils is more like a paper wall. We can do cardboard, okay? Right in between. Now, this is where, if you have the time to set up, you might want to do something that has a little bit more oomph to whatever you're doing, whatever you're pushing in with, or whatever they're pushing at you with. Because there is, and this is somewhat, and I'm not, I always have to be very careful because I know once you hit like Masters, Grandmasters, this stuff is a little bit different, but I know it still applies. You want to wear the enemy down as they approach you. Especially with 2 tanks. Especially. So with 1 tank, you do, yes, you're throwing lots of abilities at them. But the way that Blizzard has created their single tanks at the moment is that they can just infinitely take damage. Like, they have pushed their health just over that breakpoint where it's almost impossible for an entire barrage of regular team shots to kill a tank with the tank, with a support behind it. But with 2 tanks, you want to wear them down. You want to put so many abilities at them that by the time they get to you, they don't have the ability to do anything at all. This is where like Ramatra is a little bit powerful, where Sigma has a lot of power too. Where even Junker Queen has a lot of power. We can pick quite a few other tanks like this. But Reinhardt is he's an anchor tank. He anchors people down. Orisa does an okay job at this too. But just like there's no direct utility in the Reinhardt other than maybe the charge, which helps out. Not saying it's the best, but I really want to emphasize the value of the Reinhardt, especially in 6v6, is decreased. All right? especially with the nerfs. You don't have the ability to double fire strike out in the distance anymore. You don't have the boop passive. I know there's not really that many boops on the enemy team, but there kind of is. Now that I'm rethinking about that, there's the Queen, there's the Doomfist, there's the Zenyatta, right? There's gonna be boops. You don't have the sleep change isn't there, so Reinhardt's totally nerfed in this example. It's a very not optimal choice. So, and I know I'm spending a lot of time on this anyways, but it's one of those things that I think is a big difference, of course, between Overwatch 1 6v6 or Overwatch 6v6 and Overwatch 5v5. I will stop too and point out a difference in elo, right? The difference in skill at the moment, and that's what this is skill. When your tank jumps in, you want everybody else to commit with that. Like, the Doomfist should be going in when the Bastion starts firing or jumps into his turret form. This is going to be a very scattered fight, especially too since I don't even think what the Doomfist is jumping has a Discord orb. Yeah, what the Doomfist is jumping is me, right? And I don't have a Discord orb on me. Look who has the Discord orb, right? The combo that happens here, which normally, yes, okay, I'll argue too in Overwatch 2, this is something that would happen anyways. But the combo that happened here is the Doomfist should be waiting and setting up with everybody else. But because he doesn't, because he's very aggressive, very main tanky at this moment, it doesn't really work out so well for them. And they don't end up touching. Fast forward this.
Meteor strike into the unknown.
Sorry. Message. I don't remember. Do they make it? They don't make it. Yeah. Now a small weakness too, just on the enemy or the defender's side that I want to point out. Maybe having the Reinhardt Brig is okay with bringing people in, but where they took the fight was less than optimal. Especially when the enemy has a Doomfist, right? Really want to avoid these nice tight corridors. And I know we've got a Junkrat where we want to pull people into the corridor, but the big thing is you want to start some kind of engage early on, so they're already in shambles before they hit the corridor, and then that's when your team jumps on them. You can see the defenders in this instance kind of kited them backwards without, I guess everybody ran backwards to go deal with the Doomfist, which, you know, it's just really risky. It's just really, really risky. And it's risky because that Doomfist isn't as powerful as he is in 5v5. He's not as powerful at all. So even though everybody's panicking, if it was 5v5, yeah, absolutely. But because it's not, you can send 2 people back there and deal with the Doomfist, and he's dead. He's just gone, right? There's no need to panic and go, there is a superhuman creature in behind my team. No, he's just a regular person on a regular hero with somewhat regular balance. Somewhat. Next section here.
Initiating match.
Let's see how the other team, or the defenders at that point, do an attack.
Ready for battle. Stop the payload.
Oh, I did not see that spot. I did not see that spot. I had no idea. This is me right now. I had no idea that he was there. At all. Now, is that a bit of a meme? Would you see that in a professional league? No. But the rest of their team did commit with it. It was a very risky play. I will also, yeah, that's not even, I don't even know about that spot. It's funny. I'm just going to say it's funny, not optimal. Not, like, even if you do get a kill, you're dead. Now, I think, and I could be wrong, but let's go watch my view really quickly, and we'll take a look. I think our main tank here, he's actually, I think Chips a better, I think Chips is better than me. Is Chips actually on right now? Friends. Where is it? Apps, Chips. I think Chips is better than, no, Chips is not. Ooh. Okay, I'm wrong. Now I can be critical. Haha, we're gonna rank shame. No, I'm just joking. This is where I think Chips was playing like an Overwatch 1 tank, or sorry, Overwatch 2 tank, not like playing like Overwatch with 1 tank, not like, this is so hard. It's like reversed. Not like Overwatch with 2 tanks. Okay, because Chips just needs to be very aggressive, right? This whole time too, I was going, Chips, I have bubble, I have bubble. Now, a regular Rhine that's completely alone is totally justified standing there, because if he drops his shield and he runs in, he's going to get murdered. But if he's got bubble, he doesn't need to worry about that at all. He can just walk in, take a few swings, get bubbled, survive. Even if the bubble gets blown up, the Zarya's at a million charge, lasers through him. It's the sword and shield method. But because of, I guess, this Reinhardt's kind of inexperience with the Rein Zarya play, they weren't really sure about how to play in the moment, right? Reinhardt's goal as a main tank with a Zarya is actually to take all the cooldowns. And I'm actually going to rant for a second. I'm going to point this out. There's a lot of people out there who are like, I don't want to hold up shield forever. I don't want to just take I just don't want to be the bully or bullied by cooldowns. Well, play a different hero. But the meta. Play a different hero. But the meta. Just play a different hero. You don't have to. Just because people push you to play something that you really, really don't like, just play a different hero, right? If you think you can do better, and I've seen this a lot, especially in a lot of like interviews and whatnot with all sorts of players all over the place. But what happens when you don't play the optimal tank to counter the optimal tank combo? You automatically lose. Well, that's not the way first-person shooters work, unfortunately. That is the way, like, 2D top-down MOBAs work, but it is not the way first-person shooters work. Yes, it does weight the win one way or another, but if you suck at Reinhardt, if you hate the idea of standing there with a shield, taking a whole bunch of damage, walking forward, getting bubbled, being able to swing a few times, stepping back and taking a whole bunch of damage, don't play him. That's the hero. I like doing that. I really enjoy that playstyle. I don't enjoy it all the time. You know, I don't like asparagus all the time, but sometimes asparagus is good. And sometimes my heart goes, you know, Sulack, you should be eating more greens and eat some asparagus. And sometimes I go, you know what, heart? I'm my own man. I'm going to have ice cream tonight. That's not good for me. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a positive thing. I'm not even saying that it'll be positive towards the outcome of your game. But it's a video game, man. It's a meal. It's a like sometimes you do have to pick something that's a little bit more what you want. Because you never know. Sometimes ice cream for dinner will just make you feel a little bit happier the next day. Right? You'll feel a little fatter, but you really needed that comfort food, right? You just didn't really want that asparagus. Devil says, you see my point, but my argument could sound more if every cooldown didn't get Ryan deleted from the game. Yes, that's where 2v2 comes in, right? That's where people argued a lot against tanks. Because, 2v2, in 6v6, with 2 tanks, you didn't just get deleted. Ryan didn't just get deleted. Think about this. In Overwatch 2 with 1 tank, because you have the power of 2 tanks in 1 tank, either the tank is excuse me. Wow, either the tank is alive, either you have 100% of a big thing or it's dead. With 2-2-2 and you have 2 tanks, when 1 tank dies, you still have a little bit of that shield. You still have a little bit of that power. Right? When vice versa, you still have 50% of the power of your potential tanking. So in Overwatch 2 with 5v5, like, you know, I'm a little bit less likely to say, yeah, you know, play whatever you want, because it sucks for everybody else if you pick Wrecking Ball, and you're the only tank. But that's because when you have 1 tank, all tanks, and we've seen this, we've noted this, all tanks regress to being a brawl tank. They all have to hold the front line. They all have to have the exact same job. And if they don't have the exact same job, then the game doesn't work. But when you have 2 tanks, those 2 tanks in total can make up for the job that needs to be done. So you can have a Wrecking Ball and a Reinhardt. You can have a Wrecking Ball and a Roadhog. You can do that. That means the impact of your less optimal choice is less as impactful in the grand scope of the fight. You are, you're 33 down to 16.6 something percent, right? As 1 in 5, you are 20% of the team. As 1 in 6, you are 16 point something percent of the team. You have less impact individually. Your individual hero has less impact for the numbers, but your play can make up for that. Your play can push that up to a next level. So just a little bit of a rant. I'm not, you know, very conflicted on that. So this is what this Reinhardt needs to do, right? Play the old Reinhardt. Just take the cooldowns. Just take the cooldowns and swing, baby. That was fun, getting punched around and going, ha ha, y'all can't touch me. Y'all can't, well, you can touch me, but y'all can't hurt me, right? Like, that's what Reinhardt should be. But that's not what this Reinhardt is playing right now. That's okay, right? We're getting into it, but you can see the impact of it. Look, he's playing right on the line where I am as Zarya. It shouldn't be that way. He can be much more aggressive. Then we get crushed. So I just seen the Tracer. He's being very cheeky doing that. I was like, oh, I'm dead. So at this point, too, let me explain a little bit of this. Me on the attackers team, we kind of fluffed our first few pushes. So the enemy team actually has ult advantage, and this is what we're seeing. There is this fight where nothing else is going on. All I gotta do is press Q, and we lose. We do see... Oh, nice. Actually, yeah. The Doomfist does end up using his ultimate. And now, hopefully, the attackers, which we can see coming up right now, they have all of their ults coming online, like literally... Well, actually, not literally. I switched off here. But yeah, they literally have 5 ults versus a single Tracer Pulse Bomb. Who's gonna win? Who do you guys think is gonna win? I try really hard. I'm not the best tank in the world, but I want you guys to really notice too how I'm trying to sync all of my movement up with this Reinhardt. And also trying to keep the Reinhardt at the very, very edge of my, what's it called? The, rampage thing. The defenders have the same weakness that they did on attack, where the two tanks are kind of off synergy. The reason why they won the first few fights is because what happened is Doomfist, you can imagine that, like, this is the oh, I'm recording. This is the map, a 2D version of the map. Okay, you have Doomfist, he jumps in over the top, and then you have Roadhog throwing a hook in from range. They actually meet at the very end. Where the Doomfist lands is where the end of the Roadhog hook or the end of the Roadhog's impact ends. Sentence. Anyways, that's where it ends. So they're actually meeting up in terms of their value at one point. Now, as soon as that broke up, which that's what the ultimates did there. I'm not going to go into the exact detail of it. Then, you know, then they just fall apart. They just stagger. We do see a switch to Orisa, which is a little bit of an attempt to recover the front line. But the problem for the defenders is the comboing, is like the consistent, tight push together. It's not going to be like the... I guess this is where their Orisa is trying to strengthen their front line, strengthen the anchoring. I almost got pulled off. The attackers in this instance are much better at comboing together. You can see how this steamroll really splits up the two tanks, makes it so they cannot work together, makes it so their abilities don't combo in any way, and then they just cut them down one at a time. This, oh no! Did they get it? It was 0.2 meters, yeah. They let it go. Defenders probably should have fought for this a little bit harder. I feel like... well, they are down. But I think at this point is when they want to feed. Almost like you want to run in and stop them from doing this. Because if you can get 1 or 2 kills, you send them all the way back to their spawn. And you kind of have the spawn advantage here. Like, it's a little bit closer. It's just a small bit closer, but it's worth it, right? It's worth that level of sustain, so. But that's not specific. That's definitely a C9. So, yeah, it's close to it. They weren't hopping off because of their greed or anything. That's the biggest thing, right? They were just doing it because they were scared. So we have the touching. Payload's lurking forward just a tiny bit. Such a weird fight. Tracer goes down right away. Bucket throws. Haha, Bucket. So we push up. This is where Reinhardt exceeds and succeeds in being the wall that pushes the line forward. Right?
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Everyone was playing a little bit too safe. Hog walked off cart. Hog did walk off cart. He was too scared. I think if he just commit, he would have been okay. With his teammates behind him. They had 3. Yeah, it was definitely still stallable. That was that moment where, like, less so in 5v5, but still, still doesn't really. It's still a stall moment. It's still jump on the frickin' payload and take as much time as possible. So we do have double shields coming out again, which is okay. Keep in mind, I'm running Mauga and we have Reinhardt. So I don't think... I'll be honest, I don't think double shields is that good against Mauga and Reinhardt. Like, Reinhardt just walks right through. And whenever any, like, maybe Mauga... It might do okay against Mauga. But Mauga has some pretty good shield break. Yeah. To me, I think the Sigma on the defenders team is at least the key point. The defenders might want to go something like Diva. I know they got a Sombra, which is sketchy, but the thing is Diva would just eat absolutely everything that the attackers are putting out, right? If like the Sigma is so good just because of the whole gravity suck thingamajiggy. But I feel like Reinhardt's just gonna get bullied here. Hey, what's up, Placid? How you doing? Welcome in. So Placid made a specific request. We're gonna go look at from their view, and we're gonna do the Overwatch League style replay, second per second. Is he doing the exact thing that he should be doing? Okay, immortality feels good. Okay, you might have recovered it there. That was, I was gonna give you some crap. You should, yeah, I was gonna give you crap for being shattered. That was, like, if we go back, I got 2 major quick points, and I'm not gonna bully you from this angle. Sorry, but why step out like this? What's the purpose of standing out in the open like this? You can see the enemy team. They are peeking out. Why do you reload out in the open? What's with the, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna get you, reload, right? And like, why are you not firing at the enemy team? Right? It's one of those things where you can pull out like maybe a few hundred health out of their shield, or out of the, like maybe even pull a little bit of ult charge your way, right? Like there's all this prep, and then you reload and you turn around. Why not just hang out back here? Heal, heal, heal. Come back here. Heal, heal, heal. You're perfectly safe. Heal. 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 So you do little shots and then you come back and forth. How's it going, Culprit? Welcome in, dude. Like, it's very subtle. It's such a subtle thing, Placid, I want to say. And these, you know, you're up against damn good players. I'll admit, because I was on the enemy team. But it's you know, standard mistakes. Nothing major. Chips gets a good shatter in there. How did that not pin? 100% you're trolling. Well, you know, everybody is a little bit. Now, these aren't serious games anyways. I was just bugging you, I want to point out. I'm not worried about the individual play here. I'm not trying to critique any individual player. Unless they do have questions about, you know, what my opinion is, what my diamond opinion is on their role. I just want to get a good perspective here, of course, about what's going on in these 6v6 fights.
Hammer down!
As we go on, we remember all the times we've spent together. Okay, yeah, he didn't touch. That totally looks like he would got sucked in there.
Apagando las luces.
Oh, the animation didn't play for the... I was like, what canceled that there? Let me just walk in. Think? They defend it. They do defend it. So what was my mistake here? That's a big thing. Let me just speed that up a bit. I made a big mistake here.
Apagando las luces.
And that mistake was...
Apagando luces.
I flew too close to the sun. I actually don't think I don't think the Sigma shield was an issue. Okay, I'll point out. I think that was a really good move on my end, and I'm going to argue it. Again, let's say it looks dumb. It results in a bad ending, but it results in a bad ending because I made the wrong choices after I went through it. So this is good. What I want to do is I want to push everybody into the corner, and the reason why I ran in. Let's pop this up. Well, of course, the supports are gonna hate it. So Shatter comes out. I'm like, you know, okay, I have to maintain or I have to break this front line. This is really important too. And notice how I'm already charging and there's no shield up or anything like that. I have to break their front line. And because if I don't, they're gonna reset and they're gonna just continue to hold that doorway, right? The run's just gonna walk around, mess with us, whatever. I go in. Remember, I'm already charging when the shield goes up. Or before the shield goes up. I slam in like that. We knock down the bastion one more time. Gives us a little bit of time. But I go too deep. I flew too close to the sun. Only reason why you got shattered is because you tunneled on healing her, so Kiri is super killable. Yeah. 175 health. Like tracer levels of health. This is where I mess up. I should be moving towards the team. Okay. This is a solo tank. This is me playing like it is 5v5. Not the right choice. Right? As the off tank in this game, I have to be a lot more safe when I go in and do these quick dives. Wally says that was actually unwinnable. If I clutched it, we might have sustained it a little bit longer. The big thing, too, is Toasty actually comes in with this EMP. If I wasn't dead, that would be winnable. Right? If I was not dead, that would 100% be winnable. But I made the wrong choice, right? Rather than fighting, pulling back to the team, where the camera is, I went fight, step out. Stepping out is a main tank decision, and I am not the main tank in this combo, right? So, Placid was playing 5v5 Zarya a few times. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that from the tank perspective, where I'm just like, oh, I am the only tank. Woo! Let's go in. Let's go do everything. And it's like, no, okay, I'm just gonna die. Thank you so much, Placid, for joining. Thank you for joining the community in general. Appreciate the follow. If anybody's not followed, guys, please do give me a follow. It's free. It's easy to do. Also, if you get those Prime sub, it's also free, and you know, it helps me out quite a bit. Appreciate it. But yeah, overall, like, bad choice on my end, which caused the entire team to fall. And something that I missed too in Overwatch 1 was how valuable or how terrible it is to lose one tank. It's still not as bad as losing the only tank in Overwatch 2, but it's still really bad. So I die there, we lose like a significant amount of our space taking abilities.